Ever wonder what sets highly spiritual people apart from the rest? It's not just about meditation or practicing mindfulness, it's about what they let go of. Highly spiritual individuals don't just adopt new habits, they slowly begin to quit behaviors, thoughts, and patterns that hold them back from deeper consciousness. In this video, we're diving into the 6 key things highly spiritual people quit as they grow on their spiritual path, and how you can apply these lessons to elevate your own journey. One of the first things highly spiritual people begin to quit is the habit of judgment, both of themselves and others. Judgment stems from the ego, which thrives on separation and the need to feel superior. The more spiritual someone becomes, the more they realize that we are all connected, and judging others only reflects their own inner insecurities. As they advance in their spiritual journey, they begin to shift from judgment to compassion and acceptance, recognizing that everyone is on their own unique path. This transition allows them to foster deeper relationships and a more peaceful state of mind. They also begin to quit judging themselves. Often, we are our own worst critics, constantly measuring ourselves against impossible standards. Highly spiritual people slowly release the habit of self-criticism, learning to embrace themselves with unconditional love and compassion. By accepting their flaws, mistakes, and imperfections, they create a space for self-healing and growth. Letting go of judgment, both outward and inward, is liberating. It opens the door to true empathy and self-love, fostering a sense of inner peace and freedom from the need to compare or criticize. Control is an illusion. Highly spiritual people slowly quit the need to control every aspect of their lives, because they recognize that trying to control the uncontrollable leads only to frustration, anxiety, and stress. The desire to control comes from fear of the unknown, fear of failure, or fear of losing security. However, spiritual growth involves surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that the universe has its own divine timing and wisdom that far surpasses what we can imagine. As they let go of control, they experience a deep sense of inner peace and relief. Instead of resisting life's natural rhythms, they align with them, trusting that everything will unfold exactly as it should. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on goals or aspirations, it means releasing the need to micromanage every outcome and accepting that some things are simply beyond our control. This surrender allows spiritual individuals to be more present, adaptable, and open to new opportunities that they might not have noticed if they were fixated on controlling every detail. They trade rigidity for flexibility, knowing that life often brings blessings in disguise when we least expect them. Highly spiritual people slowly quit seeking validation from others. In a world where social media, status, and external appearances often dictate self-worth, it's easy to fall into the trap of needing approval from others to feel good about ourselves. But as spiritual individuals grow, they learn that true self-worth comes from within. They understand that chasing external validation is a never-ending cycle. It's impossible to please everyone all the time, and relying on external approval makes happiness fleeting and conditional. Spiritual growth brings the realization that the only validation that truly matters is self-approval. Highly spiritual people begin to focus on aligning with their own values, beliefs, and inner truth, regardless of what others think. They stop performing or changing themselves to fit others' expectations, and instead, they live authentically and unapologetically. This shift from external to internal validation creates a deep sense of confidence and security, making them less susceptible to criticism or praise. They understand that external validation can be fickle, but self-acceptance is enduring. By cultivating a sense of inner fulfillment, highly spiritual people create a life that resonates with their soul's purpose, rather than one dictated by societal norms or expectations. This inner alignment brings peace and joy, far beyond what external validation could ever provide. Highly spiritual individuals understand that the ego is not their true self. The ego is the voice in the mind that clings to materialism, status, comparison, and competition. It's the part of us that feels separate from others and constantly seeks external recognition or control over situations. As they deepen their spiritual journey, they slowly quit over-identifying with the ego and start connecting with their higher self. This is the part of them that is eternal, wise, and connected to the universe. Spiritual people learn to observe their ego rather than act on its impulses. They become aware of when the ego tries to take over, whether through comparison, pride, jealousy, or fear, and they gently guide themselves back to a place of humility and connection. Detaching from the ego allows them to live from a place of authenticity, where their actions and intentions come from love, not fear or competition. They no longer feel the need to prove themselves or measure their worth through external achievements, realizing that their true essence lies beyond the material world. This shift doesn't mean they abandon all desires or ambitions, rather, they pursue their goals with a sense of purpose rather than ego-driven needs. By connecting with their higher self, they experience life with more compassion, peace, and a greater sense of unity with others. The ego's incessant demands for more fade away, and they find contentment in being, rather than having or achieving. One of the most liberating things highly spiritual people quit is holding onto grudges. Resentment is like carrying a heavy weight that only drags down the person who holds it. Over time, they realize that grudges keep them anchored in the past, blocking their spiritual growth and preventing emotional freedom. Holding onto anger and bitterness is a form of emotional self-sabotage. It damages the person holding onto it far more than the one who wronged them. As they progress spiritually, highly spiritual people learn the power of forgiveness. They understand that forgiveness is not about condoning harmful actions or forgetting what happened, it's about releasing the emotional attachment to the pain. By forgiving, they free themselves from the toxic energy of resentment, making space for healing, growth, and love. They understand that everyone is on their own journey, and holding onto anger only keeps them tied to past pain rather than opening to present joy. Forgiving others and themselves is a radical act of self-love. It allows them to move forward, unburdened by the weight of past hurts, and it transforms their relationships and overall outlook on life. By quitting grudges, they create space for inner peace, emotional freedom, and a greater connection to the present moment. The more spiritual someone becomes, the less attached they are to material possessions. In a consumer-driven world, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that happiness comes from acquiring more money, more things, more status. However, highly spiritual people slowly quit this attachment to materialism as they realize that true fulfillment cannot be bought. They embrace minimalism, focusing on experiences, relationships, and personal growth over material wealth. Highly spiritual people find joy in simplicity and learn to appreciate the abundance that exists in non-material aspects of life. They realize that overconsumption is often a distraction from inner emptiness or dissatisfaction. As they let go of the need to accumulate, they free themselves from the endless cycle of wanting and striving for more, which is never truly satisfying. Instead, they invest their energy in cultivating inner richness through meditation, self-awareness, relationships, and spiritual practices. This doesn't mean they renounce all material things or live in deprivation, but they become more mindful of their consumption. They value quality over quantity, and their relationship with material things becomes one of appreciation rather than attachment. This shift allows them to find peace in contentment, and they understand that their true worth lies not in what they own, but in who they are. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on spirituality and self-development.